All right, happy Friday, Advantage members. It's February 17th, 8 a.m. my time. And I want to get right into the Bitcoin analysis first because it's an important one, right? I remember pretty much after the day of the CPI, okay, which was right here, we had a whipsaw of price action. And pretty much the following day, which was Wednesday right here, we consolidated above this KSR level, which is the 22,700 level, right? You can see across the board how important of a level that is. Once we consolidated above, we spent, maybe 2-3 hours above it, and boom, we took off. Okay. Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening, we just took off. And then Thursday, we mostly consolidated near the highs, grinding a little bit higher. We may have built up some mini sort of bearish divergences up here, which brought prices down, which probably, scared off a lot of like longs up here, especially high leverage longs. And now those are flushed, right? Now the question is, okay, where to from here, right? On a 4-hour basis, I think the chart will tell you that things are a little bit more clear than if you look at it on a smaller time frame. The 4-hour basis clearly tells you that, this is a pretty important range high level, 23.5 that you're looking at right now. And the range low, which again, we had broken above from here, that was an important level. So what the market right now is telling you that if you could stay above this 23.5 level, which I think BTC is capable of doing right now, the market can, build a base right here and then continue to grind higher. However, do not question Bitcoin's ability to get extremely, extremely volatile, especially after yesterday's sort of hawkish talks from who was it? Let me show you guys this real quick, or let me see if I put it in the chat yesterday. Let me see here. Yeah, so I guess I did say Fed speakers were speaking hawkishly, and then there was a bad PPI print. Let me see if I posted the actual link. Maybe not. Let's do this. Let's go to, obviously we know that SEC is suing Terra, Do Kwon, all that stuff that was going on. Let me see here. I love this meme whenever you have like bad news. I love it. Let me find it real quick. Obviously, Binance is still sort of, under the gun, if you will, of more FUD, or, whether it's FUD or not, they're clearly under scrutiny by regulators. I just want to find that quick. Let me see. Bauman. Was his name Bauman? Let's see. Yeah, sorry I'm taking so long on this, but it's a pretty important one, simply because, one of the Fed chairs, Bauman, he kind of talked about, higher interest rates, maybe even having a 50% basis point hike next month, which is sort of, out of the ordinary, because as far as we know that, for the next several months, it's supposed to be 25, 25, and maybe another 25, maybe, right? The third one. But if it goes to, last month in January, we had a 25, or I'm sorry, early February, we had a 25, and then March or April become a 50, and then maybe another May or June become another 50. That's sort of, completely out of the radar, an opportunity where markets are not positioned for that. And so you want to be careful about, conversations like this, especially if Jay Powell starts reiterating like, hey, the markets are getting too excited, and, equity market status, right? If you see him talk about, equity markets are getting too excited and they need to calm down or whatnot, that may not be good. And that may bring, equity markets down further, simply just because of his, hawkish talk. In the equity market world, we're still being pinned between 4180 and 4080, this little 100-point level. On a weekly basis, it's not really looking that great, to be honest. We could probably get a pullback here. We may even consolidate near the local highs a little bit more. This is probably an area that you want to be paying attention to. And, translating that into BTC, I think the interesting thing that happened was we kind of went into this high and we took out that level, right? But we are not able to sustain above it yet. And I generally don't like this kind of grinding behavior, like this, and this into highs like that. What the kind of behavior that you want in price action near a critical high like this is you want to see something like this, like this, and then boom, smash right through it. So what, obviously that could happen still, right? But this may be creating a local, bigger consolidation before maybe we move out of here. Okay, so I do want you guys to keep that in mind, that if you're getting positioned long in BTC, maybe don't expect an immediate breakout, because, guess what? Like on the RSI, this is a bearish divergence. That's a higher high, it's a lower high, and that's like a multi-week, bearish divergence. So typically, like, that means that prices can come down another few days before they break out. A clear example of how that happened. And by the way, if you look over here, this is your typical, on our Shepherd indicator, this is your bear tap, meaning prices have broken down from its momentum, and now they're sort of, doing this backwards tap into a bearish momentum. Okay, typically when that happens, you're going to get a further pullback. Let me show you guys exactly when that happens similarly. I don't know if some of y'all were around back in 2018 and 19. I talked about my lessons, about my mistakes and stuff in 2018, 2019. I was pretty prescient on, calling like local bottoms here, but I was just, too scared to hang on to the position, or too scared to buy when I knew it was pretty close to a bottom. And for ETH, I was just wrong, because I was calling a bottom, but lower, right? Like, my mistake in ETH was I was so confident back here. I was like, oh yeah, this kind of looks like a bottom that's coming, but I was waiting for like $60-ish or 40 or $55 or something down here, when the prices had already broken down from this high down here, 94%. Like, what good is another 20-30% drop from this point, right? If it's already down 94%. So looking at things from a long-term perspective like that, like if you're thinking about being a buyer now, right? And I've showed you all this before. If you're thinking about being a buyer now with the intention of having this kind of run up back to the 618 fib. So remember, in 2017, the high was 20K, the low was around 3,500 or 3,100. And the retracement back up, like a mean reversion trade back up, was a 618 fib, which is around $13,000, right? If that's the case, right, if you want to have a mean reversion trade like that, I mean, you're pretty far away. Like, the 618 fib is around $48,000. Maybe we don't even get to the 618, right? Maybe we get somewhere between 382 and 50 fib. Let's just say 37 or 40K. That's still, another $17,000 or $16,000 from where we are, right? So that's a lot of momentum to still, catch. So point is, you want to look at the market from perspectives of, larger mean reversion corrections back up, especially, reducing your leverage, reducing your margin, reducing your risk. And that gives you more cushion. It allows your mind the ability to think a little bit more freely of longer timeframes, when you're not just stressing about leverage and funding fees and whatnot. So pretty much, most of my positions right now, I converted my BTC leverage long into pretty much a spot, like, just because, if I'm holding for 1, 2, 3 months, like, why pay the funding fees, right? It's not a massive position anyway. So, why pay the funding fees, right? And then, I was thinking about lever longing some alts, but again, I thought about, well, let me just, buy in as spot. So I picked up a little bit of fetch, picked up some MATIC, picked up some INJ. So far, I mean, MATIC, we're I think up like 7%, I want to say, from 133, 7 or 8%. Here, yeah, we're up like 9%, right? That one's doing all right. Fetch is like, it's chopping about, but again, fetch is your AI play, right? It may take a couple of weeks, maybe even a couple of months to play out, but if the AI narrative is still hot, well, this thing could run up higher. And also, I like tokenomics of, the tokens I pick. Okay. I always look at the tokenomics. When I see a market cap of 450 million with the fully diluted value of 498, that's phenomenal to me. I love that, right? Circulating supply, again, pretty damn close to all coins pretty much being in the market. If I start seeing like, oh, circulating supply is only half the total supply, and market cap is pretty high, or fully diluted valuation is really high, I'm paranoid, because that means more and more coins are going to come on the market, which will dilute, market cap and your investment effectively in the asset, and the sell pressure is just too much to surmount. Okay, so fetch, another one that I like, and then INJ, which I've told y'all before, right? This is like your it's kind of like a newer L1, but within the Cosmos ecosystem. It's still, largely in development. Again, 300 mil market cap. Majority of like 80% of the coins are already on the market. Obviously, I would have liked it if it was a little bit more. Not perfect, but again, fully diluted valuation is much closer, right? 399 million, and we're already at 311. So I like that. So yeah, I mean, doing your research and things like this and trusting your instincts. Like I think this morning, Elizabeth was talking about, trusting your instincts in NFTs, right? Some people just are really, really good at their gut and recognizing like what could be the next hot thing. It doesn't mean you're right on every single thing, but that one NFT, that one coin, that one project, right? That may be the one that gives you that next, 3x, 5x, 50x. Okay. And again, that's not investment advice, but I'm letting you know that crypto does often have those opportunities. And, Elizabeth and Snicks and Huey, they're all really good at recognizing what is hot and what is not in the NFT world. Again, they may not be right every single time, but as far as I know, these are the best people in the NFT world. Sometimes I point out some NFTs too. Like I would say, the one that I got right, that I really focused on was DGods. And I pointed out DGods when it was like a 12 Solana floor. If we look at DGods now, and DGods is probably at like 500 with, let me see, 524 with, tons of opportunities where you would have made this thing called DUSK. And, I had even pointed out DUSK, which was a little, token that you get for holding your DGods or staking your DGods. And DUSK, was something that was, I'm sorry, this may be the wrong DUSK. DUSK protocol, this one, right? I remember back in the day, DUSK was like maybe 10 cents when we were collecting it. I sold my DGods, but, I let the community know, right? So point is, you want to be paying attention to these unique opportunities, all right? Especially the market right now, which I believe is going to make everybody question their sanity, question their bull bias, their bear bias. That's where I like to sort of have longer positions in the market. I like to look at assets that are very overlooked. Yesterday I was talking about something like audio. This is part of the music NFT world. I don't see anyone talking about music NFTs all that much, but if they pan out, or if, it becomes even remotely a thing, right? This thing could pump. It can pump, easily 200-300%. Okay. So this is where you want to start doing your research, your opportunities, mapping out what could be, hot next. All right. Anyway, that's all I got. And again, look at opportunities where you do get whipsaws in the market, but also keep in mind that, yeah, maybe markets are locally extended. Maybe they do need a pullback, but it doesn't mean that you have to start thinking about this has to be the top. Just think of it in context of, okay, well, yeah, of course, markets are overheated. You got bearish divergences being built up. Market clearly tag resistance. Okay, give it 6-7 days of a pullback, buy into somewhere around 22.5 or something, even if it comes there, right, somewhere down here. Maybe you get another buying opportunity at 22 and some change, and then it pops up again, right? This is what markets do when they're overheated. On both sides, they will have mean reversions in a pretty sick and insane, like, volatile way, back in the other direction, because it'll trick a majority of the participants to take on the position on the wrong side, because they're not thinking in a longer time frame. They're just kind of simply thinking like, oh, well, this has to be the top, or this has to be the bottom. You don't have to think in that context every single time, right? Cool. That's pretty much all I have. All other things I've pointed out. I mean, I've pointed out, CRV, which is launching a stable coin soon, 0x AI, which is another AI related coin that's coming out soon. Make sure y'all keep an eye on stuff like this, right? Blur, we talked about Blur as well. Let me see how Blur is doing today. Blur is down a little bit. So again, when things are like this, like, they're down, right? And okay, so FTV is 2.7 billion, market cap is 347 million. And then you start to look at, okay, well, when are the next big token unlocks coming? If they're farther away, price has the ability to keep going up. And especially if Blur does not have as many, competitive forces with tokens that are doing good like Blur. Like Looks, I think, is a I want to say Looks is a competitor. Where is Looks? Let's check out Looks, right? Looks is a competitor to Blur. Okay, so if Blur is going to do well, right? Well, it's going to take away some market cap, some ability from if Blur is going to do well, it's going to take some attention and money away from Looks. Right. So that's one of the reasons why you want to be focusing on things like Blur, especially on pullbacks, like where you have a 15 or 20% pullback day. All right. We had also talked about, what's it called? BGB, right? It's one of the few tokens in the market where it has been ripping in February. Okay. If you look at BGB, right, it's doing better than any token that I can find. Not only in like the centralized exchange token space, but in like any space. It's up, I think, 100 and something percent in February itself. Okay. And then let me see here. Yesterday I was mentioning GNS. I don't know if y'all saw my video on GNS. This was like last year, I want to say. Last year, right? I think 6 months ago, I pointed out GNS, which is Gains Network. So if we go here, right, GNS, I think when I pointed it out, GNS was like $2 or something, or $2 or $3, something like that. And now trading at 10, right? 6 months, you get a 5x. I mean, that's pretty phenomenal, And again, that was not investment advice for you to buy, but it was advice for you to research, do your own due diligence, do your own research, So there are things that I may point out in the moment, and they may not pan out tomorrow or next week. It may take a couple of months. But the reason I point out these things is because I do my research, right? I may not be taking every single pick or every single thing that I point out, but I'm allowing you to do that kind of research for yourself. And you may find some things in it that are amazing that I may not. And you want to, be able to share those, right, back with the community. That is the point of a community, is we share that alpha. There's a reason why we called it Alpha Trades, right? We want to be sharing the alpha within us, okay? So I love the fact that, myself, Steven, Elizabeth, Snix, we, pretty much everyone else who contributes to conversations and stuff, like Bradley, everybody who shares alpha, we are all going to make it. We are, because the more and more you keep up with the space, the more you're sort of in tune with crypto, you will always be ahead of the pack. You will always know, what the market is leading towards, where the market is, shifting away from, what are the new narratives, the new coins, the new ecosystems, right? You have a good barometer of understanding the market much better than others, okay? So anyway, that's all I have. All right, thank you, everybody. I will talk to you all soon, okay? Cheers.